So I'm back, just talking about how to take your life from heavy to light, and I had talked about doing Reiki and doing consciousness work, and I had a lot of people message me and say, "Well, what is that? Like, well, what does that mean?" And and so I just thought, well, you know what? We'll just do a video about what I do and what I like. Um, I'm a Reiki master, and basically, Reiki is healing energy, um, and it's just a technique. Um, and so there's 3 levels of Reiki. The first level being um, you can do Reiki on yourself, Reiki 1. Reiki 2 is you can do Reiki on other people, which I love doing Reiki on other people. And then level 3 is you can attune people, or they call it the master level. You can attune people, and you can also teach people how to do it. And so that's where I'm at. And I don't really do much with it. I can honestly say that. And on that space, I just like being with people one on one. But I can, and I'm doing this video, so I guess that's part of the training as well. So, so I did have a friend of mine, and this was years ago, and she had said, I had told her, I said, let me do Reiki on you. It'd be so much fun. I don't do that too often to people, but this is like my best friend in high school, and she says she's a very devout Catholic. And she said, cool, I don't think that that's a really good idea because, I'm Catholic. And I said, that doesn't have to do with anything. It's because I think she thought like it was like part of an occult. And I said, no, it's not like that. And basically, when you get attuned with Reiki, is that you have life force energy enter through your crown and then go through your body and then go out your hands. And it's like you're a conduit. And then you can take that energy and help out others. And so people say, what kind of energy is that? Well, you know, Reiki is primarily a Japanese energy healing technique, and they call it like chi or ki, and like in Hindu, they call it prana, and in you know being Christian, and I am Christian, we call it. I kind of call it like the Holy Spirit, and some people say, oh, you can't call it the Holy Spirit, but that's as close to it as possible that I would think. That's how it feels. It feels, it feels, it's very, very healing, and it's like a white light energy, and it's beautiful, and I can't say enough great things about it. So, so when I do Reiki on people, it's not massage. People will say, do you do massage? No, I don't do massage. You have your hands over people, and you can, there's a certain technique. Now, I don't follow that technique. Over the years, I've actually changed it since I started learning consciousness work, and I do energy consciousness work, and then I do Reiki. And so when I work on somebody, I kind of scan over them, and my hands are above them, and so you kind of see what's wrong or what's going on. And then you can kind of determine where they need help with what. And I'll put like maybe my hands on their head or on their shoulders, but everything else is you basically are running your hands over someone's body. And you're not touching people, and that's the other thing, you don't really touch anybody. You can, but typically, we don't. So that's Reiki in a nutshell, and I always tell people, somebody will say, well, I don't think it helps, and da-da-da. It doesn't, it feels so good. Usually everybody actually falls asleep on me within like 2 minutes. They're sound asleep, which I don't know if that's a good thing too, but it's very relaxing, obviously, for others. But, when you're working on somebody, I know that some people have said that it has felt like when I have my hands on their head or above them, that it kind of feels like electrical charges. Sometimes it feels like sand. Sometimes it feels like heat. Sometimes it doesn't feel like anything. And somebody will say, and it can't hurt you. So that's the best part, is it can't hurt you. I always liken it to when people get it done, it feels like you had a really big coat on, and that you took that coat off, and you're like, whoo, feels really good having that coat off. So that's kind of like what Reiki is. And it's not really something that I do tons of anymore, but I still love it. I still completely believe in it. I do use it with other forms of healing work. And, it's just a great way of taking the heaviness away from you, and finding a life of ease and finding a life of lightness and joy and gratitude. So it's just another technique. The other thing that I do is, oh God, I just totally blanked out. I do consciousness work, and basically what consciousness work is a transfer of energy. So let's say that I have somebody in front of me, and or we do distant work as well. And there's actually something in Reiki that you do distant healing work. It's called Hanshazi Shonen, and it's very powerful. And there's a lot of times I can tell people, I'll give you distant Reiki, and they go, my God, I feel so much better the next day. And somebody says, well, that's just because you told them that they're going to feel better. But there is truth. It is true. If you sit there and you send people good energy, and you send people gratitude, and you send people love and lightness and everything good, they are going to feel it. So, going back to consciousness work, I learned consciousness work from a lady named Jamie Bates. I've been working with her for a number of years. And there's a couple of different ways that we remove heaviness from people. And one of the ways is, it's kind of very similar to Reiki in the sense, but it's instead of me using a conduit of my hands, I'm energetically pulling, like energy from the person, and I'm putting it inside of me. And basically, I'm taking their stuff on. And so, like, if they're stressed, if they're worried, if they don't feel good, if they have pain, so you're basically pulling it through you, and I liken it to, I know this sounds really silly, but I liken it to, like, basically cleaning it, putting it through the body, taking out the garbage stuff goes out the back, all the stuff that you don't need, like the stress and the worry, and the stuff that weighs you down, and then you're pulling that, taking that out, and then you're basically putting back into the person, gratitude and happiness and joy and lightness. And so you're kind of, if you can imagine, almost doing like an energetic circle of taking out worry and stress and putting in gratitude and lightness, taking out heaviness, putting in, good energy. And so consciousness is basically like kind of like a giving and a receiving, more on like I always liken it to the force, on an energetic kind of I say a mind, but it would be like an energy space and consciousness, where you're bringing somebody else's stuff into you, and having it pass through. And I'll tell you what, people say, oh my God, I cannot believe how good I feel. And it really feels so good. You can also have somebody, if you feel like you're getting smaller, and especially when you feel heaviness in your life, and you feel like energetically things are weighing you down, and maybe life is just weighing you down. My gosh, I mean, there's so much to life now, and our phones and work and kids and school activities and you name it. So what you're doing is, we can energetically take a person and kind of like open them up, but kind of open them up and give them space, and give them some room to kind of look out and see, like, okay, what's really going on, to give them some room to breathe, to give them some room for lightness. And so energetically, it's so great, and it feels so good, and oh my God, it's so freeing. And we do the same thing. We use the Earth's healing energy, and we call it like a universal energy, the chi, the ki, the prana. I like the Holy Spirit. I love that. and it it's so good and it's so healing, and it just feels like it goes right through your heart, right through your soul. It's just such an incredible lightness and such an incredible feeling. Um, so so a lot of times I will use things together, and I'll kind of do a mashup. Now, this last year I learned how to do hypnotherapy, and which is basically a subconsciousness or subconscious. You work with somebody subconsciously, and when I was learning how to do it, I got called out because I'm like putting somebody under, and I was giving them Reiki at the same time. I didn't think anybody noticed. And I worked with a really amazing lady that does hypnotherapy. And she called me and she goes, Kula, did you give them Reiki? Because they're down for the count. And I said, I might have. And so I got in a little bit of trouble. And she's like, it's okay, but you can't really you're not supposed to be using mixed modalities, which I do all the time. But I did learn how to do it. But it's a lot more fun when you mix it with other energy work. So basically, you're a conduit. So I'm a conduit, and what I do is that I take on. You go from, like I said, life force energy. You bring it inside of you, and you give it to somebody else, and you use that to heal. I know some people go back to like the occult and stuff like this. There are some people that do this, or that have learned this, or not taught this. I don't know, you know what I mean. But there's some people that do this, and they deal in what we call, like, they do it in like a dark way, and you really have to pick your poison here. You really have to decide, am I going to do this with God's light and love, or am I going to do it with darkness? And I know that sounds kind of silly, but you have to kind of draw a line in the sand of where you want to be at. And I've actually watched people kind of played in like Wiccan practices and then try to do like Reiki, and it just doesn't work. It's like, if you want to do incantations and you want to do things that are really dark and kind of sad and kind of scary, or do you really want to do something that's light and loving and joyful and I say heavenly, for lack of a better term, then you better make a choice. Because I tell people, you really can't serve two masters. And not to make this like a theological debate, but it is true. It is true. And so for me, my goal, and other people like me, we love helping other people. We love making them feel good. We want people to feel that joy and that happiness and that lightness that we feel. And so hopefully this makes sense. It's just a really, really good way of, I always feel like energetically, if your body is strong energetically, if you have life force energy turning throughout your body, keeping you healthy, I think you're less likely to get injured. I think you're less likely to get hurt. I think you're less likely to get sick, because you've kind of fortified yourself. And I'm not expecting anybody to go out and become Reiki masters. That's not the point. The point is that this is just, there is things out there that I know people love, saying that it's not true and there's only doctors and they're only this. And I'm not saying that I'm a healer like a doctor. I would never say that. But what I'm saying is that it's okay to be well-rounded. Some things are okay for your soul. Some things are really good for your soul. When you get good energy running through your body, and when you feel a lightness and you feel that energetic love and energetic goodness going through you, it really fortifies you. So, and it's just my 2 cents, and this is just my feelings and my thoughts about stuff, which I always say doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. But I do love doing it. It's so much fun. And I love when people feel good. I love when people are happy, and because it makes me happy. So I guess that's why I do all this stuff. All right, so I hope that kind of explains stuff a little bit. I'm going to talk really quick about yoga. I'm kind of running over here. I'm going to talk really quick about yoga. Yoga is probably one of the easiest ways to do something and there's 7 energy centers in the body. We call them chakras. Yoga is probably the easiest way to open up your energy centers and get life force energy without actually even having to do anything. And all you got to do, I tell people, even if you lay down a mat and you lay down on the floor and you do a corpse pose, or you learn how to do yin yoga, which is just basically stretching. Sometimes I think people think it's like yoga's like 100-degree temperature, and a bunch of people in a yoga studio, in a hot yoga studio, making themselves like into pretzels. That's not necessarily the case. Yoga is probably one of the easiest ways to have life force energy enter your body without really doing much of anything. Lay down a mat, lay down on the floor, do some stretches, put a YouTube video on about yin yoga, do some stretches, open up your body, open up your mind, open up your energy centers. Tell you what, it's so healing. Energy, space, and consciousness. That's what we work in here. So, all right. Oh my gosh, it's really, I've gone really over. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I certainly appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye.